Hello everyone. I'd like to share some wonderful things, but before I get started, I'd like to share some thoughts in response to Nabil Hassin's talk titled Computing, Climate Change, and All Our Relationships, given at the Deconstruct Conference in Seattle, Washington. Nabil offers valuable insights into how we can tackle various contemporary challenges using contemporary thinking approaches, and I fully agree with these points. However, I also believe there's room for other approaches. Often, we fall into binary thinking, which simplifies complex issues. This can limit our understanding and solutions at present. Instead, we should embrace non-binary thinking, which allows us to see more possibilities and find better solutions in the long term. I highly recommend watching Nabil's talk. It's a wonderful starting point for understanding these issues and exploring new ways to think about them.
In thinking of the systems of ecologies, as well as the vast networks that intertwine them all, I have found a common thread that seems to plague the thinking surrounding such concepts, and that is simply that of binary thinking. Binary thinking refers to the tendency to simplify complex issues into two opposing categories, often leading to an either-or kind of mindset. This type of thinking can be limiting and reductive, as it fails to capture the full scope of an issue and the range of possible solutions. For instance, political debates are often framed as left versus right, reducing the rich spectrum of political thought into two conflicting sides. Binary thinking is pervasive in many areas of our lives. In politics, it creates a polarized environment where nuances are lost and middle grounds are cast aside. This can lead to a stagnant and divisive political climate, reducing complex issues to simple or for or against dichotomies, leaving little room for compromise or innovative solutions. Arguably, we have been conditioned through such systems to think in terms of dualities. While in marketing, binary thinking manifests in the form of targeted demographics and consumer segmentation. While categorizing consumers can be useful, it often fails to account for the diverse and fluid identities people hold. This can lead to oversimplified and stereotypical representations in advertising, missing the mark on truly resonating with the broader audience. And in the realm of social issues, binary thinking perpetuates an us versus them mentality, ultimately hindering progress and understanding. This mentality, it can lead to conflicts, and it fails to recognize the shared humanity and common ground that often exists between seemingly opposing groups. Okay, let's step back a bit and let's look at a quote from a wonderful person, Nabil Hassin, who asks us the question, how are all of your relationships? From his talk, Computing, Change, and All Our Relationships, which was very well informed and very thought-provoking, we are met with this question. However, in the talk, it brought forth a vast series of themes that all encompass a binary system, lens or outlook. For instance, distinctions like global north versus global south, technologists versus the policymakers, and oppressors versus the oppressed were prominent. Let's break this down a bit further. Global north versus global south is a common theme in discussion about global inequity, often simplifying the nuanced realities of development, culture, and socioeconomic conditions within these broad regions. Technologists versus policymakers creates a divide that overlooks the potential for collaborative efforts, while oppressors versus oppressed can sometimes ignore the agency and resilience of those deemed oppressed, while also failing to recognize the complexities within systems of power. Such binary forms of thinking establish an us versus them mentality. And to move beyond binary thinking, we must cultivate a mindset that embraces complexity and interconnectedness. This involves recognizing the limitations of dualistic frameworks and actively seeking out and valuing diverse perspectives. Let's look at some real-world examples. The NPR article, The Dark Side of Congo's Cobalt Rush, highlights the dangers of binary thinking. The mining of cobalt in the DRC is often framed in binary terms. The global north benefits while the DRC suffers. This perspective can obscure the intricate realities on the ground, such as the local agency and social economic dynamics involved. The situation is far more complex. The DRC's mining sector involves local miners who depend on this industry for their livelihoods, international corporations seeking to maximize profits, and various levels of government with differing agendas. Additionally, the global demand for cobalt, driven by tech and automotive industries, implicates consumers worldwide in this supply chain. Similarly, the rotten roots of global economic governance from the nation highlights how the IMF and World Bank's practices often perpetuate inequity. This reinforces the dangers of binary thinking, simplifying relationships into dominance and subordination. The historical context shows these institutions were designed with noble goals, but have frequently imposed austerity measures and economic policies that align more with the interests of powerful nations. Recognizing the nuanced realities of these interactions is crucial for developing fairer and more effective economic policies that respect the sovereignty and diverse needs of all nations involved. The Colorado Sun article, Growing Data Center Demand at Odds with Colorado Climate Goals, illustrates the clash between technological growth and environmental sustainability. Framing this issue as a simple trade-off ignores the potential for integrating renewable energy sources and sustainable practices. We must remember data centers require immense amounts of electricity and water, often sourced from regions already facing environmental stress. This binary perspective overlooks the potential for integrating renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, and developing sustainable water management practices. Addressing these challenges requires a nuanced understanding of the interdependencies between technological development and environmental stewardship. To truly address the complexities of our interconnected world, we must strive for a more nuanced approach. This involves not only recognizing the limitations of binary thinking, but also actively working to dismantle it in our own discourse and practices. Embracing complex thinking means acknowledging the multiplicity of experiences and perspectives. By doing so, we can formulate new solutions that are not limited in scope, but rather are inclusive and multifaceted. No doubt easier said than done, but by fostering dialogue that acknowledges the multiplicity of experiences and perspectives, we can seek solutions that are truly inclusive. Let's move beyond binary thinking and embrace the complexity of our world for a more equitable and sustainable future.
Hold on. Before I close out, I think it's a good idea to have a really simplified summary of some of my more key points. So, in summary, addressing complex issues like computing and climate change requires moving beyond binary thinking. Our culture, well, it simplifies problems into either-or choices. But as we know, this approach overlooks the multifaceted nature of all of the various contemporary challenges that we, well, tend to face. By adopting non-binary and holistic thinking, we explore a wider range of solutions, and, in the long run, establish better understanding for the intricate relationships at play. Embracing this complexity allows for more effective and inclusive problem solving. Let's strive to move beyond simplistic frameworks and embrace more comprehensive ways of thinking to tackle today's pressing issues and those that may arise in the near future. And most of all, let's keep talking about it.